you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when you feel cold, you can still go. I never ran, should've known, so go. Go, go.
And what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast. Glenn was here this time. He didn't dip out and then just empty chair.
Well, I was finally made aware of the fact that we were not doing a 2-minute opening anymore.
Yeah.
Now you were known.
To quote Sandler and just in Wedding Singer, that would have been good to know yesterday.
What's up, Avatar? Yeah, it's been a little slower than it had been. Obviously last show we had to recap everybody on what was going on with free agency. We got the draft coming up, but I mean, there's still some things to talk about. Mm-hmm. First things first. How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
I'm here, right? I mean, yeah, I'm here. That's, Glenn obviously made it. We already touched on that, but no, I mean,
pretending he didn't just walk in about
30 seconds before the show goes live.
I had to, at least, try to cover my basis a little bit, and trying to imitate Glenn as much as I can. I'm here. I got my head above water. I'm ready to talk about the ending of the first wave of free agency.
Yeah, ending of the first wave. You said wave. First wave. I couldn't think of it. First wave of free agency. But right now we've got the annual meeting going on. Mm-hmm. And there was some interesting tidbits said at the annual meeting by Sean Payton in particular. Mm-hmm. We've been going back and forth on this whole Jerry, Jeudy, Cortland, Sutton. Are they getting traded? Are they not? And Payton comes out and says, basically, to sum up, no, we're not trading them. True or false?
It wasn't just Sean that said it either. Like George came out and said it too.
Yeah.
But Sean actually said it on two different occasions. He said it, with some reporters, and then in his 30-minute press conference, which is available on YouTube on the Broncos page, and is certainly worth a listen. I would hope that it's not lying. I know it's lying season, but I would hope that he is telling the truth as far as that they have no interest in trading these guys. These guys will be on the team. Because that would really, I think, hurt his relationship with some of the existing players if he does end up, dumping them. That being said, it's one of those things where if you get an offer that you can't refuse, you have an offer that you can't refuse. And I don't know about you guys, but, when I see the Brandon Cooks, compensation, and then you hear some of the things about perhaps what Cortland could bring. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to trade a player that, as was pointed out last week, had almost 900 yards and not a full season last year. He hasn't put up the touchdowns that he has in the past. But, man, what fourth or fifth rounder would be better than Cortland Sutton teaming with Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy? It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and there was a lot to take away from the comments that were made. I mean, especially with the fact of, obviously we knew that it was basically going to take a king's ransom for them to move Jerry Jeudy, right? But when you're hearing, when you're hearing the stuff about a second rounder, like it was going to take a second rounder for Cortland Sutton, like that's the thing that was surprising to me. Like they really kind of had stead firm on not just Jeudy but Cortland as well. And so when you're talking about those round the fourth and fifth rounders, this team really does feel pretty high about both of those guys. And so I think that if you do move on from, and this is also continuing what you said, Glenn, it's doing a disservice. The guys just posted today, actually yesterday and today, the moment after the trade, and basically just saying, we coming, or the last dance, which the last dance from Tim Patrick obviously has already created a stir, but
these guys, They must be on the phone all the time, like texting, going, "Hey, you think that one was good? Hang on, give me 5 minutes.
Let's see how this one goes over."
one big massive group chat. But no, I think that like when you get something like that and you say it publicly for once, like twice in Sean Payton's case, you're literally saying to Courtland Sutton, especially because he's the one that publicly tweeted about how his feelings were. You're literally saying publicly, we appreciate you, man. Like we appreciate you. This is how we appreciate you. And we are not willing to make a move, unless your price tag, which is high, is met.
Yeah, and I completely agree with what Glenn was talking about with, let's say you trade Courtland Sutton, right? Do you actually think you're going to get a second-round pick out of Courtland Sutton, a third-round pick? You're probably going to get something, again, around the Brandon Cooks area. And with that, even if you go away from wide receiver, right? Like this wide receiver class in the draft isn't very strong. There's not like there's your couple of front runners and then that's it. And so, you think that with that, they'd then be looking away from wide receiver. But if you're getting a 5th or 6th round center or running back or a quarterback or guard or tackle or edge or whatever, is that really worth losing Courtland Sutton over?
Well, think about it.
Basically, would you trade Courtland Sutton for Tyree Cleveland? I mean, that's what we're looking at here.
Right.
Would you trade Courtland Sutton for Montreal Washington? No, you wouldn't. It just plus I love Court anyway. So we haven't had this opportunity to see the big three together either for any length of time, any substantial amount of time with any competent coaching. So speaking of competent coaching, I love the fact that
we have
Sean Payton continues to just do digs at Hackett and that previous game. It's so great. It's like, will your players be going in will they be playing in the preseason? He's like,
yes.
What? Of course they're going to be playing in the preseason. And he's like, we play tackle football. Tackle football should be practiced. Or tackling should be practiced, or something along those lines. And it's just such a dig at, a guy wanting to just give these dudes the time off, and look how that worked for them. So.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about the wide receiver room. I mean, look how it turned out. We were blowing up our group chat, obviously, the day of the draft when it happened. But I mean, like, look at what happened last year.
Which, by the way, that doesn't exist anymore because of that reason.
Right.
Too many text messages.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Bill killed that.
The moment that the moment that the Tennessee Titans traded A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles and then they took Treylon Burks is exactly the reason why, as well, you do not make a trade, because of the fact that, one, you don't have a first-round pick to begin with. That's for starters. And two, the wide receiver room isn't, maybe that great. I mean, and even if it was that great, you're still talking about an unproven room, an unproven room that was already unproven to begin with. So yeah, just there's just a whole lot of no's, and now we can officially move on and we can talk about this whole idea of what is this last dance, who is this referring to, and then we can also pick up Jerry Jeudy's 5th-year option and shut people up finally.
Well, and that's where I was going to go with that. Like, let's make sure we cover all our bases, right? Like, we sit here and we talk about maybe we get a 4th, 5th, or 6th, or 5th and 6th for Courtland. But what if a team offers us a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy? Is that worth it?
I mean, if that's been there, I would never trade Jerry Jeudy personally. But if that is your asking price, and like, for instance, let's just take the Cleveland Browns, for example. If they offered 2 2s, like 2 second-round picks, and or a second and a player, we've already touched on that. That's a pretty tempting offer. But a first-rounder, maybe with something else, or something, maybe from, I don't know, like, it would be a pretty tempting offer, because again, like, the Broncos don't have a first-round pick. So it's pretty tempting, to say the least, but it's just hard for me to get rid of a player that clearly showed himself since his, for the first time since his rookie year.
Well, we did get a first round pick. We selected Sean Payton, so that worked out.
Yeah,
or it should work out.
I say that we trade Jeudy and a third round pick for Derrick Henry. That's what I think.
I don't think it takes it. I don't think that would. I think you get Derrick Henry for a third and a player.
Yeah,
that's what I just said.
No, you said Jerry
Jeudy and a third for Derrick Henry.
But okay, I know that a player other than like one of our top 5 players on the team right now. It just doesn't. It's so crazy. It's driving me nuts.
But I think that if they're really truly going to talk about like people as far as the last dance,
sign him and then trade him.
I think though that like it's funny. I really think though that like the wide receiver room, even though it says last dance, is probably more about this whole Tim Patrick and, maybe a KJ Hamler situation. Obviously the rumors, with Courtland and Jeudy, they may not die, but if you're still talking about like the two logical candidates to probably move on from, it's KJ Hamler or Tim Patrick, because the contract is so favorable. And if they were, and I'll say it again, if they were interested in Alan Lazard, who happens to be kind of like a Tim Patrick, and they were willing to go that far into money with Lazard, tells me that, they're probably willing to move on from Tim Patrick after this year if that time comes. And obviously we know with KJ, and it's sad to say because, we want to see that dude healthy, and we want to see that dude play not just with this entire unit for a full season. We want to see him play for a full season and everything that he's gone through mentally. And so, but you have to say that kind of thing. Like, it's just unfortunate, but Hamler's probably going to be, and Patrick are probably going to be one of those two guys that you probably want to move on from. So hence last dance comment.
Dude, I don't see the Broncos moving on from Tim Patrick. I just can't imagine. I mean, KJ is hurt again, but
well, yeah, and then KJ with the signing of, is it Marquez Callaway?
Oh, he's awesome.
Marquez Callaway, you would think would be, is he a backup plan for Hamler, or is Hamler now the backup for Callaway? Like backup plan.
Callaway's way bigger than Hamler. He's 6'2", 205. That's what I was just looking up his dimensions.
Right, but
he's not even making $2 million.
He'd be like your number 4 guy though, right? Because you've got, let's say we keep who we've got. You've got Court, you've got Patrick, you've got Jeudy, and then Callaway.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's a high 2. Like he can be, he's a low end 2. Like he can be a 2 for you, or 2.5, forever they go off of this. But like, I think I said it on social media. But I mean, like, I feel like it's insurance to KJ Hamler and his injury. And in case they do move on from KJ, or even Montreal Washington for that matter, they have this type of player who won. It already made sense to be interested in a player like this to begin with. I mean, they've already made it known, and the theme is pretty well known. Then bring in some familiarity for this and for Sean Payton and for the Broncos and stuff like that. I mean, in large part, for comparison's sake, like it's basically like, bringing Randall Cobb in for like an unknown situation to a wide receiver room, just so people can understand, the ins and outs of what Aaron Rodgers deals with. Or in this case, it's like you're bringing Callaway in because he's had so much relationship with Sean Payton and had a career year in 2021 with Sean Payton, like just so that they have an idea of what to expect in that wide receiver room. But I think it's overall, like just overall insurance, just in case that injury for Hamler lingers. But, it's also that possibility he may not be on the team too. So it's just that extra insurance.
And I mean, think about it. We have a relatively deep room, even though like there's so much talk about the receivers. Yeah. But you also have Kendall Hinton, Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson. Like, there's quite a bit of potential in there. I mean, the Virgil and Johnson duo, that was one that I was really looking forward to seeing more of last year. We didn't see much.
If some of those receivers get cut by Payton, are you going to trust more now that like, okay, they're not ready.
Yeah.
Whereas like last year, like Hackett cut him, we're like, what the hell?
Well,
he kept Jalen, didn't he? Because he was afraid of losing him,
and then got rid of Hinton, and then got rid of Brandon Johnson, and then
ended
up bringing him back.
He actually got rid of Brandon Johnson. You know,
no, he got hurt. Remember, he got injured.
Yeah, but
so they cut him when he was injured, and then they had an injury settlement. And then when he got healthy, he was still in the area, and they brought him back.
And it still pissed all of us off because it's like, no,
why?
And then they obviously brought him back. But no, yeah, I think this go around, you definitely want to put more trust with Payton because I mean, you're talking about incompetency versus competency. You know?
All right, we're gonna grab avatars and then we'll hit sports nonsense's question. But Avatar goes after Cam a little bit, says he's gonna be mad at me, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Sanders does with the CU Buffs.
I hate to say it, but I'm on record. I am on record saying that I actually love the fact that the Colorado Buffaloes did the right thing of hiring Deion Sanders. You know, so I mean, so I agree with you, Avatar. I think what CU did in a struggling Pac-12 conference, for them to go out and get arguably the best coach on the market in Deion Sanders after everything that they did for Jackson State and truly bring him in and give him all the resources, give him all the money was exactly the right move. And clearly, if you go look at everything that's gone down recruit wise and transfer portal wise, you know, they're going to be quite happy with the return on investment with Deion Sanders. And the only question with Sanders is he in it for the long haul? Or is he in it for, you know, a few more years and then he's going to dip to, say, Florida State or a bigger school?
Well, and that was one of the things I wanted to say with Deion Sanders is I do think that it's going to be probably a 3-year turnaround. I don't think it's going to be an immediate turnaround. I guess my question to go along with that is like, let's say that in the first year, the expectations are not met. Once, like, are 5-star and 4-star recruits still going to want to go to Colorado because of his name? Or is it going to start being, you know, now that he's up against bigger competition and he's not having 5-star recruits in Division II going against other people in Division II? Like, are the expectations not going to be met and he's going to start losing 5-star recruits? Well, I think that's my question is like, how much of it is Deion's coaching and how much of it is name recognition?
I think it's a combination of it all, Mike. And you know, there are high expectations just because of his presence, but that team was 1-11 last year. I mean, it is a massive overhaul. So to expect realistically, and Sports Nonsense Whiskey, he's mentioned a couple of times, CU fans get him for 3 years, enjoy it while it lasts. And you know what? That's if he's there for 3 years and he's made CU relevant. But just getting back to what I was saying is that if these what he's giving these kids is, I mean, what other school are you seeing have a social media presence, have a video presence, have all of these you know, where you're actually knowing the names of these recruits because Deion is getting them on the internet and people are knowing who they are. And so when these guys start becoming well known, when they start getting drafted high as Colorado athletes, and I have no doubt that the Buffaloes are going to, you know, end up doing some damage, if not the first year, you know, definitely the second year. Well, I don't think it's going to be a 3-year program. I think he's going to continue to get it. People want to play for Deion Sanders, and he's made it clear, I'm going to make you famous if you come here.
Well, and I think that, you know, when you talk about just overall program and you talk about his ability to recruit, I mean, yeah, he was able to turn around Jackson State, but like we're talking about Jackson State here, and he earned the right to be coaching in a Division I school like Colorado. So I mean, and so and I saw Sports Nonsense and Whiskey chime in about, say the NIL, the lack of NIL money. Frankly, with the way that they've been able to have transfer portal players come in and even the recruits, that says enough that they're able to pour in the kind of money for Dion and resources already, that that tells you enough that like he's basically able to bring in the people that he wants from Jackson State or anywhere, because he's going to be able to coach them and get them to the next level, which has been, for Matt Rule and Deion Sanders, like that's one of the biggest pro arguments for both of them, is that they have the ability to get them all to the next level, and they have that argument. And so, and Deion has also been very, very coachable. I mean, like it feels like he's like a blue collar guy. He's like, I mean, you would have expected him based on where he was as a player, because he's a little bit flamboyant. But no, when you kind of hear him talk, you kind of hear how he is as a coach. He's like a complete blue collar guy, and he's like, so he understands, the ins and outs of how it is to be a really good coach. And think about too, like he was able to hire a really good staff in place too. So I mean, like he clearly isn't just about a recruiting pitch guy. He also has the ability with the national recognition to bring in high profile coaches like Willie Taggart and even Mike Zimmer to his staff. So he has the ability to really bring in a lot of good pieces for that staff.
Just a couple things. I am watching NFL Network, which is a mock draft. Just in case something breaks, I'm watching it.
I was going to say robot porn, but
no, that's on my phone. And then Texas Hockey Card says if he left Jackson State, where he was worshipped and could have become a legend as a coach, he will leave CU just as easily. There was a lot of reasons why he left Jackson State. One being
you're in the right.
Yeah, and it was kind of a mix of like the whole Ed Reed thing, right? Like you started seeing the bad side of the university he was at with Ed Reed. All the stuff that was promised to him, the stuff he didn't get. It was kind of the same thing with Dion. Like a lot of his personal money went into turning that program around because the university couldn't afford to do it. I guess that there was a lot of backhanded stuff with it's not called the front office, it's the administration with Jackson State and Deion Sanders. So I don't blame him. Like if you're going to go to a Division I school and have everything that they promised you right there, why wouldn't you make the move?
And also his two kids are playing for him. So
right.
Shedur's, has a high profile, quarterback position, even more high profile than Jackson State. And Deion got them a TV deal. But it was funny if you saw the clip where Deion was talking about the numbers and you got to earn your numbers. And then he goes, number 2's taken.
Well, and one of the underrated things about Deion is like, I don't know how he's going to be as a coach for Colorado. I don't know. We'll have to see how he does. But we look at the NFL draft and we've said it the last 3 years, like we want somebody that has high character, that they come in, they don't have skeletons in the closet that's going to be found out. They're not a crappy person. Like they are a good character person. And I think with Deion Sanders, what you're seeing in those videos is like, he would kick people out if they're not early enough to the meeting. He would send people out of the weight room if they're not wearing the right color socks. And it may seem stupid, but like if you're expected to perform at a high level at a Division I college, if you can't do just the simple stuff, like how can you be trusted to do everything else you need to do in college, right?
Yeah.
So he has expectations that they'll hold the doors open for people.
Right, like the expectations and the respect that he's teaching these kids that might not have seen that before. I love it. So I'm a fan just on that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole point with Deion, and that kind of stuff got blown way out of proportion. And I mean this even from the Husker fan base, like that got blown up way out of proportion. I mean, the guy is clearly, trying to implement his type of style and his type of system. And if you're not willing to meet those demands, he's willing to respect you to, go find the school that is going to be able to, make sure that you start too. I mean, like that's the other part of this. And so I think that we're talking about a guy who clearly gets it. I mean, coming from Jackson State and obviously coming from his upbringing and, and stuff like that. He definitely gets it for being, a coach for such a short amount of time. And, for him to basically turn around Jackson State from where they were to where they are currently today. I mean, that's what they always say, leave a program or leave a company in the best shape that you found it. And there is no doubt Dion left Jackson State way better than he found it.
Yeah, he's definitely aware of, you need to be buttoned up in this area, and this area. So let's get this straight, and then we can work on the football stuff.
He is me saying, darn.
Yeah.
All right, so kind of going back to the annual meeting, one of the other things that Sean Payton said, and I think that it was, what the heck is the other Payton's name?
George,
there you go. Brain fart. I think George said it as well, but the Broncos view Cushenberry as their starting center. That worries.
Now
I'm terrified right now.
Glenn brought it up. This might be smokescreen season. Yeah. This is one where it might be smokescreen season. But I mean, if we're gonna talk about some pros for Cush, it's the pros for maybe why Mike McGlinchey came here, and is this a good fit for Garrett Bowles? I mean, they're both very athletic, and Ben Powers. I mean, like, they have the ability to move around. So I mean, like, as a center for Lloyd Cushenberry, maybe just as a pro, maybe this just is a way that this allows Cushenberry to fit the system better with Streif. And, it's a very common thing that all of us have said, but it's like, if Sean Payton and Streif believe in Cush to be the center, who am I to disagree with that? Right. I might have some, I might have some questions as far as, is he truly,
are you sure you saw this play?
Right. Or like, are you sure? Or like, are you absolutely sure that Cushenberry should be the starter? But this truly does feel like smokescreen season, because the way that they've been able to invest in the offensive line this year, you would think that they would tie a bow off of all of that and sign a center, or, once they get into the draft the center. So this kind of feels a little bit like smokescreen season a bit.
Yeah. It's easier than saying we're going to use one of our back-to-back picks in the third round to draft a center. So,
yeah. They also brought up earlier, and this is kind of what I wanted to segue to. Do you guys feel like Payton has any power, or is Payton running everything now? I think we've had this conversation before. Like, it doesn't make any sense to give George Payton less power. Like, give Sean Payton a say in who he wants for roster, like, decisions, but George Payton would have the final say, right?
No, Sean Payton. Sean Payton would have the final say. Okay. But I think that with the way things are constructed and the way things are way with George Payton, he is a really, really good draft scout. He is a phenomenal draft scout. And so it's really important that he and Sean are on the same page for what they want collectively. But because Payton is in charge of, the roster of what he's going to be coaching, it's very, very important that he has that final say. And is this a player that George Payton can also evaluate from and use that in his evaluation process? Like, is this someone that Sean Payton would be interested in? So, because I mean, again, a lot has been made about this whole ordeal with George and Sean, and are they going to be able to make it work? There was another report that kind of came out even before we hit record today that even after the draft, there might actually end up being some shakeup, with the front office and stuff like that. And I think that came from Michael Lombardi. And it's like, that doesn't even make a lick of sense. Why would you do a shakeup of the front office after the draft, where the sole responsibility of your entire front office and everything you prepared for went into that draft? And, oh, by the way, we're going to fire you. Like, it's like, it almost just feels like, we didn't like the direction we drafted, so therefore we're going to fire you.
Yeah.
I think that Sean has ultimate power. I think he has a lot of respect for George. He's mentioned it multiple times, over and over, basically every time Sean talks, which hasn't been a ton, but every time he talks about, collaborative effort and that they chat all the time, that they watch tape all the time, that George is, as Cam just referenced, is a great scout, has this amazing background, has success in the draft. I think he has a lot of respect for him. I don't think that George Payton is going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never even consider that. So I'm surprised that Mike Lombardi is putting that out there. Do bear in mind that 2 of Mike Lombardi's kids work for the Las Vegas Raiders, but that's beside.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady is, now going to be in what part of the ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders?
No,
right?
Aces.
Aces. Yeah, that's what it is. So
he's going to coach, or he's going to own the team that Darren Waller's wife is on.
Yeah.
I still can't believe they dumped that guy. Oh my God.
Yeah, idiot.
He's going to tear up.
You can though, right? Like Josh McDaniels.
Yeah,
you can.
But it's still.
They sent Derek Carr home. I mean, but in favor of Jarrett Stidham, and the person that Sean Payton talked most glowingly about in his entire half hour was not Russell Wilson. He said Russ works hard. Russ is, has a lot of success in his career. But Jarrett Stidham, if you heard him talking, it was like, Mike Ditka talking about Ricky Williams when he was going to draft, when he traded his whole draft away. It was unbelievable. I think the guy could start in the league. It's like, well, he's a backup quarterback on your team. I don't know how that.
Well, and the thing is, like, to be fair, it's like, he has been asked, like, since day one, since being hired by the Broncos, about Russell Wilson, and that's going to get exhausting. Just talking about Russ, and and even if this was a pro Russ off season, the way they were handling it, and the offensive line and everything, I mean, like, it's going to be absolutely exhausting and tiring talking about Russell Wilson for an entire offseason, and whether or not he's going to be meshing with Sean Payton. So the opportunity you have to talk about something new in that
backup quarterback,
right?
In that same room or just that position, I'm going to be talking him up so I can just,
And then everybody runs with it like he's the future.
Sign him to a $230 million fully guaranteed.
Right.
But one thing that Payton has not done is he's not like fully gone gaga over Russ. Like he's kept his distance from him. We understand that you were at a dinner with Russ. Oh yeah, but I only wanted to talk to Joe Montana. He has not. I think he's just keeping it in case things go south, and he can say, "Listen, I didn't come here to because of Russell Wilson. I came here, for the overall future of the Denver Broncos
network. That's why he's
there. That being said, I think Russ is going to have a good season. I think it was an aberration last year, and that's my personal opinion.
I agree with you.
Kind of switching gears a little bit, they got Roger Buttface up there talking about the annual meeting. It looks like the owners just approved teams playing 2 Thursday night games in the season instead of 1. And what is so funny?
It's 2 Thursday night games. Is just when we're here talking about player safety in the National Football League, and you want to play 2 Thursday night games, which already puts a huge damper on your entire practice schedule as well for the week. Like doing 2 games for Thursday night football, all that is just about revenue. That's all it is. It's just about revenue and be able to bring in revenue, which you're the number one sport in Kingdom Come. You don't need more revenue.
So basically, I think there's 4 things that have come out about the annual meeting. One was the 2 Thursday night games. One was the use of the helmet as a weapon. Still going to be called, but now a player will also be penalized if he uses any part of his helmet or face mask to butt or make forcible contact to an opponent's head or neck area. So that could affect linemen. And if the foul is committed by a defensive player, it's an automatic first down for the offense. and the player could be disqualified.
Hope you're paying attention, Mason Rudolph and Aaron Donald.
The second one is the Guardian.
You mean Myles Garrett?
Well,
yeah. Mason was the target.
Yeah. The second is the Guardian caps. You guys know what those are?
Yes.
Did you guys watch the Hard Knocks? The things are all white things. So they're not going to be mandated in every preseason practice and regular season and postseason practice. The only ones that don't have to wear it are kickers, punters, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and defensive backs. Everybody else has to wear them, including the coaches. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. And then they're going to talk about the hip drop tackle, but nothing was actually done on that. You're just going to talk about it, which means
they also were talking about flexing the Thursday night game, which was really a terrible idea.
The other big thing they talked about was, I guess they're talking about selling the Commanders, right? I heard that it's a group that has Magic Johnson in it.
It's
actually talking like $6 billion or something like that.
It's actually a group that was in the Broncos ownership group. Josh Harris, not Magic Johnson, but Josh Harris is the one, and his bidding company put a $6 billion bid for the Commanders. Another thing that came out
too.
Yeah,
there are $6 billion bids for the Commanders right now.
Another thing that came out today is that they also approved that players are allowed to wear the number 0.
Oh yeah. They also said that, and I must have forgot to put that one in there, that you're still not allowed to challenge roughing the passer. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I didn't see that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that one, but yeah, such is life.
Whatever. Moving on to happier thoughts. So the season ticket holders for the Broncos got some interesting questions in their emails about a new stadium and about new uniforms. Damani Leach basically confirmed that, yes, we're looking at new uniforms and they're more than likely going to happen.
He even said something along the lines of, we probably will be getting an alternate helmet this year as well. He also, basically, without saying his name, said that he really, really liked Marcus Boggs' uniform design.
That's not what he said. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what he said.
I'm putting words in his mouth, but that's exactly the way I interpreted it.
I had no problems with what Boggins did for uniforms. I loved them. They were great.
I thought Marcus's reaction was a little bit overblown. He goes, "It's Mr. Boggins to you."
But then there's this whole blow up about a new stadium, right? And I know we've talked about this before, but there's a lot of people that are not fans of moving it from its current location. And to me, it's almost like if you want, and we talked about this on the neighborhood the other day. It was like, if you want to have more of like a fan experience built into where the stadium is, you almost have to move it because you don't have that much space left to expand. You have some, but you don't have, like, let's say you model it after AT&T Stadium out in Dallas or SoFi in Los Angeles. They have a huge area set aside for fan experiences, like punt, pass, kick, or punt, pass, throw, whatever they have it at. And then you can get in there, put a VR headset on and play a game, like all these different things that they can do with the buildings and the land, but they don't have as much land to expand on where it's at as opposed to out by DIA.
I know, but who wants to drive all the way out by DIA? It's so cool. Even driving into the city, it doesn't matter how many times you've seen it. And Cam, you probably see it all the time when you drive in and you got the logo seats up top. I mean, it just, you have to look at it. You're never going to not look at the stadium. And there's just a great energy down there. Listen, I understand it's all about making money and it's all about maximizing profits and all that, but how many people have gone to Jerry World and said, I can't wait to go back. I mean, that was just such an incredible experience. No, it's place in Frisco, Texas. It's away from anything else that they had been to, and it's just this massive facility, and I don't know. It was great that they built Invesco at the time right next to Mile High Stadium, and they kept it down there, and hopefully they can find some areas where they can build it out, and maybe it's not as overblown, but it's going to be a while. I mean, they're putting $100 million into this stadium right now. And as someone who can speak to this, like they are not doing that. They're not pulling the money out of their own pockets. They have absolutely jacked up ticket rates so high that I actually gave up my tickets this year because they were so ridiculously priced. They went up over 30% for me. And the 2-year and then it was going to go up the second year of the contract. It was going to cost $14,100 for 2 seats for 2 years, including 3 preseason games. So, I mean, that is just, for me, living out of state, it was it didn't make any sense. It was going to be too hard to get somebody to spend $700 a game on tickets. I'm not whining.
Trust me, I tried to convince you. Listen.
Yeah. But I'm not complaining. We'll still go out and we can find other seats throughout the stadium, but everyone I've talked to, their seats have gone up anywhere from 20 to 40%. So wait till the new stadium comes and the personal seat licenses start kicking in. It's going to be really, really expensive.
And the thing with DIA is, like, if you think traffic is bad to get, to the stadium on game days, think about the traffic to DIA. I mean, like on game days, like it's like you almost have to leave 3 hours beforehand to go to DIA. I mean, like, and the traffic is just going to be absurd. So they absolutely need to keep it where it's at. And it's a point that, we brought up even before, but like, if you just talk about the true infrastructure of where that stadium is, building a new look stadium there allows you the opportunity to make Empower Field, between that and Coors Field, like 2 of the biggest like features visually as far as like the skyline of Denver. I mean, like, so if you can have that and be able to, keep the infrastructure of where it's at, and, the integrity of the stadium is, not broken by any means, so that they can be able to make a new stadium, then you absolutely have to keep it there. I know that there's some rumors that I think the Elitch Gardens may or may not be moving. So it's possible that, that area there may have some land to work with, but I mean,
that's already going to be residential, Cam. Elitch is already going to be apartments and condos.
Okay.
Okay. Time out. You have to send Stars a reply to what? Like on Facebook?
Facebook, I think. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
But no, but you gotta, I think the one thing I absolutely respect about how they're going about it, even if they have like their own personal opinion of what they would like to do with the stadium or even the uniform change, is they're doing anything as a responsible human being would do. I mean, like when you have a podcast, like, right, you want to reach out to the listening base. You want to say, how would you make this podcast better? What are some things about how would you make this podcast better? And like for the Broncos, they're kind of like
we probably wouldn't want to read those replies, by the way.
Right?
No.
But
new
it's
host.
right. But it's like it's one of those things. Like they're kind of like doing the exact same thing of like, where would you want the location? Like or what kind of uniform design would you want? Do you want it like SoFi Stadium or AT&T Stadium or the Minnesota Vikings Stadium? How exactly do you want the stadium to be? Or do you want a retro look, a new look? So they're going about it, completely the right way. I mean, they want to engage the listening audience, even though they may have their certain, biases, should we say? But they're definitely going about it the right way. So so what I'm trying to say is, if it comes to fruition that they decide we are moving it to DIA, it's because you, the stinking listeners, you know, and Broncos fans voted to put the dang thing on DIA.
I don't think it has anything to do with a fan vote. I think it has to do
Oh,
that
yeah.
they could gobble up all this land and then own all of the properties that would go around it. They'd own all the real estate for the restaurants, for the stores, for the experiences, everything that they would own. And the cool thing is for them is that they've got the capital and the resources to do that.
Definitely the money for sure.
You know, we say that right now, and you know, maybe it would be spectacular, but there is something very special about riding the train in or driving in, you know, and going to these games, and it's you know, it's an incredible experience.
See, and I don't mind that part, like riding the train in.
No, I love it.
But then, like when you get off and you're walking under like freeway, like over or underpasses, and that part of it's where it's like, okay, that's just kind of gross.
That sounds like a you problem to me.
I'm just saying, like, or like when you get to Empower Field and like the tailgates, it's awesome. But when
what a snob, Mike's like,
I'm sorry. When you like walk up to
none of the rainwater drips off of this unsightly freeway.
You know, but like just as far as like the downtown experience, like take it from the Rockies example, like they suck, but yet they're still like they're still able to put fans in the seats. You know, they're still able to put fans in the seats. I think they're like at the midway point for fans, you know, and stuff with the stadium. So like it can definitely be done. If Coors Field can attract, you know, that many fans, whether from opposing fans or even their current fan base, you know, I mean, the Broncos can certainly do that, even with the amount of money that they can, you know, roll into that kind of stadium.
Yeah. And I was looking into that stars thing on Facebook. I didn't even know you could send us stars. But if you want to, go ahead. No pressure. I didn't know.
We'll be like the old Pirates said, we'd have the stars on our hats.
There we go. Did Boggins uniforms have white helmet? No. It was basically the color rush, right?
No, it was more of the style, or at least the color combo of
the lighter blue,
the 80s uniform of the lighter blue. But he had it was really buttoned up. It's just a beautiful design. It was such a nice design. You know, people tried to steal it as their own. Fortunately, Boggins had actually recorded himself creating these designs, and he posted it after the guy stole.
Let's see if I can find some of these. I'm not going to do it in dead silence though, so never mind. Like,
but it was definitely between like the 80s and that like very early 90s look before they went obviously to their. It was just so well done. He did a. What's up, Frankie? He did what is it? Basically the home and away jersey, and then he did actually Surtain for both of them, and then he did one for Justin Simmons as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see if this
ownership group wants to really endear themselves. Oh gosh, I love that.
There's that
they
one.
Want to endear themselves to this fan base, they change the uniforms. I mean, that seems to be. Bronco Bill is the only person I know that doesn't want to change from the current uniform. Like, you know,
no, not that one.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, there's that one. There's that. Is that it? Back to that one.
Is so good.
Yeah. If you guys have not, if you guys have not been able to check out Boggins's work,
the name's right there.
He is fantastic in what he's been able to do, and obviously he does a show for BPA now on Thursday. So go check it out.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, and like even if we got the players down, you got Rush, you got Surtain, you got Simmons, and you got Singleton. But like even if they had the orange jerseys with blue pants, I think that would be a cool change. Just a little change.
So what would be
back in the late 70s, the Broncos had white jerseys with orange pants with like blue and white stripe down the side, and it was kind of a classic look. Like you could, I think one of the Craig Morton cards actually was that uniform, but you could probably find that it looked really, really cool.
So what would your guys' alternate helmet be? Because if we're supposed to, and it certainly seems we're going to be getting an alternate helmet this year, what would your guys' alternate helmet be?
Was it just the helmet, or were we going to be able to do an alternate uniform also, Cam?
my guess is they probably would not complete one without the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I think it's a jersey. If I mean I'm all bought in on Boggins stuff. I think that is exactly what I hoped they would bring back. And then when he put it out, I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I had in mind. I mean, it's the classic look, cleaned up, tightened up. It's so cool.
Yeah. What are examples of other alternate helmets? Like, are we talking the Bengals white helmets?
Well, I mean, Houston has a red helmet, and the Eagles went all black for their
and the Falcons have their red ones.
Yeah. The Saints, I forget which one. The Saints had a really cool one this last year, and I forget what it looked like. But
the Saints go for like a really dark gold. Like their old school gold is like really much darker than the one that they have now.
But I would be really interested to know. Maybe they go with, say, so the Color Rush helmet has the navy blue, right? So the Color Rush has the navy blue. So maybe like a white helmet, like a white helmet with that D, or maybe even just as a complete one-off, but like a black helmet with the D logo, the orange D.
That wouldn't be bad.
I don't love the black helmets, like when the Eagles do their black helmet, or even the fact like when Atlanta changed from that red.
Hell no.
Yeah.
To the white or the black? Which one?
Probably both.
I don't know, like somebody would have to make no white. Sorry, Kim. So somebody would have to show me the
racist.
Because I just can't think of an alternate helmet that's better than either of the options that we have, right? Yeah. Like the old D or the new Bronco head. Like I don't see one that would be better than that. And changing it to white or black would just be weird.
Well, and I don't know if it's pure happenstance or coincidence, but in the store for where things are for training camp at Dove Valley, like in the store, I think they have an orange helmet. Like if I'm not mistaken, like they have an orange helmet with the current logo of where things are, and so maybe that's what they do.
I mean, I guess I have seen one where it was like your matte white. It wasn't your shiny white. It was
that's what
matte white with the Bronco head in orange, and then it was like orange and blue stripe up the middle. That'd be kind of cool.
And that's that's what I'm not talking like pure white by any means. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I could go with that. Anything else? Nothing to do with Broncos. Lamar Jackson. Why is he not on another team?
I don't get it. The only thing I can think of, Mike, the only thing I can think of is that teams are waiting until after the draft because teams that are really interested in him, like a Colts or a Falcons, would have to give up some pretty high picks right now. But if they do the offer sheet after the draft, maybe we'll get Boggins on the case. I don't know.
It's like an XFL uniform right there.
Browns did that too.
I'm with you.
But I think they're waiting until after, knowing that if they start giving up their 2 first-round picks in 2024 and then subsequently in 2025, that they would be much later in the first round, because presumably if you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, you're going to be a much, much better team than if you have Desmond Ridder or Sam Ellinger. That's the only thing I can think of.
And part of me, is like, well, the Ravens are playing this right. One, giving him the non-exclusive franchise tag so that if he does seek out some other teams, and with this simple fact that he and his mom are like his own agency pretty much, because that's the other layer to this. Like he has the ability to seek out other teams, and talk to those other teams, and so like in essence, the Ravens, when they do this, are basically asking, these other teams to basically, or Lamar, I should say, like setting his own market by asking these other teams, and in doing so, like, okay, this is exactly what you want. Nice. We'll see if we can be able to meet those demands. So I feel like part of me is like the Ravens are kind of going about this the right way. On the flip side of this, though, I have no earthly idea why some of those QB needy teams aren't in on Lamar. And the fact it happened so fast when they said no to Lamar, like the Commanders, the Falcons, the Colts, even though it seems like the Colts are kind of monitoring the situation as it stands currently, but I mean, like, the Panthers, although we know now why the Panthers are not, because they seem pretty, hell-bent on, making the trade with the Bears. But
Cam, I think you're definitely Cam is definitely onto something as far as, every owner is pissed off at the Browns for the contract that they gave Deshaun Watson. And nobody wants to be the second team that gives a massive, fully guaranteed deal to a quarterback, no matter how good that they are, because all of a sudden now the precedent is set. And to some degree, the Deshaun Watson contract set a precedent, but it's really going to be set in stone if another team does it. So I think that the other potential thought to this is that the Ravens are waiting for somebody else to offer the contract as a fully guaranteed contract. They'll match it and they'll say, we were left with no choice. They offered the fully guaranteed contract. So the Falcons all of a sudden get blamed. Arthur Blank is now responsible for the second fully guaranteed quarterback contract, and they set the precedent. That could be real, but if someone offers him so much money and the Ravens can't offer him something, or match the deal, what are they going to do? I mean, that's just.
Well, it's all because the Browns suck, right? Like, I'm not saying that fully guaranteed contracts won't be a thing, but why did Deshaun Watson have to be the first? Like, he sucks.
Well, he wasn't the first.
Awful.
He wasn't the first. You know who the first was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
But his was not even his was not his was like 96 million, which is still astronomical for Kirk Cousins.
His was fully guaranteed.
But the fact is that Watson was fully guaranteed because he wanted nothing to do with the Browns until they said, we'll give you $230 million no matter what. And that's when, Cleveland isn't so bad.
Yeah. And the other thing about this is, can we please shut up about this whole narrative that the Russ contract is worse than Deshaun Watson? Like, can we please shut up about this narrative? Like, again, we're still talking about a situation where, one, we can break it down. Like, maybe the Broncos should not have given him that deal, talk about it in that form. But like, the way the Broncos structured it is in no way, shape, or form like that fully guaranteed deal that they handed out, the Browns did to Deshaun Watson. I mean, you're talking about a completely incompetent organization with the way Cleveland is run, and they have been run. It's not the first time that they've done stupid decisions like this.
I mean, let's face it, when the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson, nobody was complaining about the compensation. All Bronco fans were excited about the possibilities. The media was excited that they could finally cover a team that had been losing for years. Everybody was psyched about it. Then came time to sign him to that extension. Russ had a no trade clause. There was no way he was going to accept a trade without some sort of a promise of an extension. I'm sure that deal was already set in place before the trade was even made. You sign the deal. You know what? It's in line with where quarterbacks are. It was in line with what Kyler Murray, and Russ has, much more accomplishment than Kyler Murray. No one complained about it. Then the season started, and the season started going south, and it wouldn't be an issue if everything had gone to plan or to expectations. So, like, we can't rewrite history and just pretend that it was a shitty trade and it was a terrible contract, because it wasn't for what we were expecting. It is presently, but the chapters have not all been written in this book. So, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit and see what happens.
Right. And what happens if you don't sign him to the extension? They wait a year, and then Lamar Jackson gets a fully guaranteed contract. Well, now the market's reset. So now it's like, now you got to pay a whole lot more to get Russell Wilson. And after the year he just had, it's like, now is he worth that much?
But there's no way Russ waives his no trade clause to come to a team for 1 year or 2 years. Yeah. It was not going to happen. And those 2 years where it, he was making like low 20s at that time, which was a groundbreaking deal at the time that he signed it, but it wasn't in comparison to some of the other contracts that have come due. And let's pay attention, folks, to Joe Burrow is coming up. Justin Herbert is coming up. All these guys are going to be, getting some massive deals. And it will be interesting to see, how the Chargers handle the escrow on these guarantees that they're going to have to put away, because they've traditionally been a little bit cheap, or they're crying poor mouth. But stay tuned.
And as for to continue, I have to say this because Glenn's here. To continue my Austin Eckler narrative, if they pay Justin Herbert, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Austin Eckler? I mean, because he's very clearly unhappy that he's not paid. So if you ink this deal with Justin Herbert, and it is a fully guaranteed deal, I would imagine that Eckler is going to be very disappointed, and he's gonna want out of there even more. So I mean, Cam,
you know what you just described? You just described the New York Giants, because what happened was Daniel Jones. There was talk about putting the franchise tag on Daniel Jones. They didn't do that. They signed him to a massive deal, and then they slapped Saquon with a franchise tag that was worth far less money than he would have gotten as if he just negotiated a regular short-term contract. So
which is only like $10 million for a Saquon.
Right. Which is, you think Saquon's a little bit pissed off about this? And there is talk that they're still trying to negotiate a deal with him, but they're not required to do that. They've got a running back who has had, some recent injury. I thought he had missed a lot more games than in fact he really has had. He's played a good portion of his career and very productively, but you just described the Chargers need to pay attention to what happened all across the country, because that could be their future. But I don't. Austin Eckler is their offense. I mean, Herbert's a solid quarterback, but what has he done? Eckler's the one that puts all the points on the board.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of want to go back, because I hadn't heard this, but are you saying that the Colts are going after Justin Fields?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying that the Colts are monitoring the Lamar Jackson situation.
Oh, I thought you were
no, he was talking about the Panthers were out on Lamar because they'd made the trade with Chicago.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Okay. Mike's been dumbfounded for the last 10 minutes since he made the cut.
I was like, wait, what? I didn't see any of that.
It's like that. It's like that scene in Seinfeld with Kramer where.
I didn't see any of that. I was like, wait a minute. All right, I think we covered everything. We get everything.
And that's
Mike started the show by saying there's a little bit going on, not much going on. An hour and 3 minutes later, we covered.
Hour later, it's like, did we get it all? I think we covered it all.
Come on, you're right on.
I haven't even finished my first one yet.
So that's what one sip does to you.
Pretty much. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. We appreciate everybody that joined us in the chat.
Gosh,
Ray, so Pablo, Kamani, Sports Nonsense, Frankie Abbott.
He knows for like 2 seconds.
Rolling up here. He was still there. Texas Hockey Cards. Avatar was in. Bubba was in. I think I got everybody. Ernie, and whoever else we didn't see on Twitter. Sorry, we can't see your comments.
I know.
But we do appreciate every single one of you joining us on the show today. Make sure you check out everything that's on the MHRT network. On Mondays, we got the Cluster Puck, which covers with Nick and Britt. They cover the Avalanche. And then on Tuesdays, you got the 5280, followed by Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. And then on Wednesday, you have the Wild Wild West and some other stupid show after that. It's called
Wow. Wow.
That's what you get for not showing up until 3 seconds before we go live. and then mainly Broncos after that. And then on Thursday, we got the BPA Show with Mr. Boggins and Pat Coyote. And then on Friday, you got Broncos Breakdown with the old guy, Bronco Bill. So make sure you check that out. And then the neighborhood on Avalanche games. And then when Broncos games start, we'll do it then too. So make sure you go like, subscribe, share, comment, turn on notifications, all that fun stuff.
And Cam, congratulations on your first 2 weeks live on the network. Things have been going well. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Things have been really smooth, honestly. I mean, things have been going really well, except for, I crashed. I crashed on the first episode, but things have been rather smooth. And but yeah, so thank you to all the listeners and people who have checked out the Mainly Broncos live stream. It feels good to kind of do those live streams and obviously see your guys' interaction. And if we can tease for an episode tomorrow, we have our very first guest for a live stream tomorrow. We actually are going to have a really close friend of mine who I went to college with, and he's now been doing a lot of stuff with 850 KOA. Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony Rodriguez will be joining us tomorrow on the live stream. It's been something that I've been wanting to do with him for quite a while, but we just could never really have made it work. So he will be joining us tomorrow at 7:30 Mountain Time.
Cool.
And then before that,
stay tuned for Sports Nonsense and Whiskey right after us. So
and then tomorrow Rich is gone in Florida, so I'm guest hosting the Wild Wild West, and then Cam and Mr. Rodriguez right after that. So make sure you check that out. Do the Scuba Steve clip. Okay, hold on. I gotta change. It's not a different thing. Hold on. I gotta find.
While you're finding that,
it's right here. I got it.
Scuba Steve, damn you!
There it is. That's the one.
That Adam Sandler Mark Twain show was the award show was so good. If you get a chance to watch it, it was just absolutely phenomenal.
It was really good. Yeah, that's all we got to say.
Anyway.
So we'll see you guys later. Make sure you stay tuned for the Sports Nonsense and Whiskey Show coming up next.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.